If you've been saying, I need to get my money together, I need to figure out my finances, but nothing is actually changing, I don't think it's because you don't care. I also don't think it's because you don't have enough financial literacy. What I think is actually happening is that you might be reactive when it comes to your money instead of being proactive with it. So in today's video, I want to show you step by step how you can actually take control of your money. And this applies no matter how much money you make or what your net worth is. It doesn't matter how much you currently have. These steps will force you to become proactive with your personal finances so that you can get to a place where you're not just surviving, you're thriving. The thing is, most people are living financially reactive. Something comes up, you deal with it. Another bill is due, you pay it. Something unexpected comes about, you use your money to take care of that. So money comes in and then it disappears. So you check your account and you know there should be more in there, but there just isn't. To me, that is not a plan. Even though you have found ways to survive up until this point today, this is not going to be sustainable long term, and it's going to be more difficult to get to a place of financial security. So today, I want to help you shift from being reactive with money to being proactive. If you are new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lissa Lumutenga, and I want to help you build wealth in a way that actually fits your life and feels good. We're not just chasing money to be rich for no reason. We want a better quality of life. So if that is your vibe, make sure you subscribe. Let's jump into the first step. Now I'm calling this step 0 because it is kind of like the pre-work that I think you have to do before you take the rest of the steps on this list. I don't hear a lot of financial experts and people on YouTube talking about this step, but I think before we even jump into the numbers, we have to reflect. We have to look at where we're at in life and what it is we want. What do we want to change moving forward? What is going to motivate us? So I want you to think about this, and even better, if you feel like journaling, write this down. Answer these 3 questions. Number 1, what do I want with my money? Is it enough so I have some peace of mind and feel financially secure? Or is it an amount of money that will allow me to leave my job or move cross country? Whatever it is, whether it is something internal, intrinsic, or something external, just write it down. You have to understand what is motivating you right now. Question number 2, ask yourself, what is not working? Is it that you don't make enough? Is it that you spend too much? Is it that you don't have a good system in place? In your own words, write down, what do you think is not working right now with your finances? Why do you believe it's not working? What are your finances making you feel? Sorry, I know there's a couple questions within questions, but think about or write down, why did I click into this video to figure out how to actually start taking control of my finances? And number 3, why does it matter for me to organize my finances? What would it do for me? What value would it bring to my life? I think if you skip this step and you jump right into calculating numbers, I think what you end up doing is you build a system that you might not actually care about. You might get stuck in those same cycles of being reactive. So this pre-step of reflecting, it's okay to be messy. This doesn't have to be a perfect money plan. This is writing your thoughts right now in the present moment of what it is that you want. Why do you want to improve your finances and what's been blocking you? This is the step that makes everything else you do a lot more personal. Moving on to step number 1, the official first step. Step number 1, calculate your money in. This should be an easy one because most people already have an idea of what they make on a regular basis, on a monthly basis. So because I'm a visual person, can you see that? I need a better marker. I think that's good enough. I think you guys can see that. So this is what I consider your money in. On a monthly basis, I want you to calculate how much money do you take in. This is your net pay. This is money that you can actually use in your day-to-day life. So you should include your paychecks, your side hustle income if you have any allowances that you get if you're one of the lucky ones who has a really rich family member that gives you money. Essentially, this is anything you get on a consistent basis. Now, if you don't have consistent monthly income, the best thing you can do is take an average. Look at the last 3 to 6 months, take an average as long as you foresee the next 3 to 6 months being similar. If the next few months are going to be different for any reason than the past few months, then estimate what you think you'll bring in. Remember, this doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be good enough. So that's step 1. That is your starting point. It is your current reality of money coming in. Moving on to step number 2. I don't have a red marker right now for some reason, so we're going brown. Step number 2 is calculating your money out. So this is going to be a lot harder for most people. You want to calculate how much money goes out on a monthly basis. How do we do this? Now we have to calculate what is leaving, what money is leaving your possession. And here's the thing, I don't want you to guess. What happens with a lot of people's budgets that don't work and that go wrong is they guess what they're going to spend in the next month. And then, they end up spending 3 times the amount on food than they had planned for. Instead of predicting what you're going to spend in the next few months, I want you to do an audit. I want you to do a 90-day audit, so 3 months worth of expenses that have already happened in the past. If you want to do more than that, if you want to do 6 months, a whole year, that is going to give you better data, but it can be time consuming unless you're like a spreadsheet whiz. So the reason I want you to look back and do an audit is because this tells you the truth. This tells you what money is actually going out. So you can do this on a piece of paper, you can do this on a spreadsheet, or you can do this on my free cash flow tracker that I will drop below for you to use. And the idea is you fill in all of the transactions, all of the money spent over the last 90 days. I won't get too much into the weeds on the technical side of this. There's a few ways to do it. For example, if you make most of your purchases on a credit card or a debit card, you can log into your accounts at those banks. You can look up all the transactions for a certain time period, and then you can export it as a CSV file. Getting that CSV file formatted in a way that fits into my spreadsheet tracker is gonna take a little bit of know-how, but that's why I also said you could just do this yourself and create your own spreadsheet. If you wanna be super manual about it, you could do it with a calculator, right? That's just gonna take more time. The reason I'm not totally against taking a lot of time on this step is I think the more time you spend on it and you're sitting here writing down everything you've spent on, it brings an awareness to where your money has been going, and it gives you more time to think about, is that something I actually value? If you don't use my spreadsheet template, I suggest doing a few things. For every expense, define it as something that is fixed versus variable. So is it the same amount every month or does it change? I suggest also adding a category. Right? Is this related to food and groceries, to entertainment and fun? Is it my phone and internet? Is it my utilities? So this step, it might take you a little bit of time, but find everything that you've paid for in the last 90 days. So beyond your credit card statements and debit card statements, check your email for receipts. Think about any cash purchases you might have made. Check your Venmo or PayPal or payment apps to see money you've paid other people. Maybe you guys went out to eat. That counts as food, but it might not be captured as food when you're looking at your bank statement. And like I said at the beginning of the video, it doesn't matter what your income level is or how much money you have. Anyone can do this step. Anyone can audit where their money has been going in the last 90 days. Now, theoretically, you could do this audit for just the last 30 days if you want, but the reason I like bigger timeframes is it captures more of those one-off expenses or those variable things. So however many months of expenses you look at here, divide it by that number of months so that you get an average dollar amount of how much you spend every month. Now, the fun part. You have your money in. Sorry, did that hit the mic? You have your money in amount and you have your money out amount. What you want to do is take the money in and subtract the money out. So let's say on a monthly basis, let's give me $4,000. And let's say when I calculate everything that goes out, mine is like, I don't know, 3,200. These are fake numbers, by the way. I need to actually do a more recent audit of my own. So depending on what this calculation is, so in this example, we have a positive 800, and that makes sense because there's more money coming in than going out. What you're looking for is this margin amount. This is margin that you have in your cash flow. I don't know why I'm writing like this. I should just write like a normal person. When you do this calculation, there are going to be 3 possible outcomes. Mostly 2. There's technically a third one. Basically, you're either going to have a positive number, which means you are spending less than you make. There could be a negative number, which means you are somehow spending more than you make, and oftentimes this means taking on debt. Or the third possibility, which is cash flow is 0. You make the same amount of money that goes out. Usually on a month-to-month basis, no one's ever at exactly 0. There's always at least plus or minus some amount of dollars. So for purposes of this video, I'm gonna kind of group cash flow negative and cash flow neutral kind of in the same bucket, because if you are in one of those buckets, there's not gonna be much you can do right now until you free up more cash flow. It's gonna be hard to make better financial moves until you have more cash to play around with. Once you know your cash flow status, this puts you in prime position to be proactive, to figure out what is the next step I can do to improve my finances. So you've done the hard calculations. Now it's getting creative on what we do next. Step number 4. I want you to identify some immediate wins. It's easy to get bogged down in the numbers and feel deflated sometimes, depending on what your numbers look like. What I want you to do is to identify a quick win. Where can you take a quick action that is going to immediately improve your finances? So the goal here is we want this margin amount to be as big as it possibly can. You still have to live your life, so you still have to spend on things, but if you want to improve your finances, the more margin you have in your cash flow is going to give you more power. So what do I mean by quick wins? Well, regardless of what your cash flow status is, how can we either increase the money in and or reduce the money that's going out? Because when you do that, this margin becomes bigger. Now, oftentimes, the money in is more difficult to have a quick win unless you can just go in, ask your boss for a raise, or if you have a side hustle and increase your hours or something like that, it's going to be hard to increase the amount in. If you have options available to you to crank up the dial and increase your income, go ahead and do that. But for most people, the quick wins are going to come from reducing your money out. Now, the upside of having done that cash flow audit is you probably already identified things that maybe you were paying for and don't even use or don't even want, things that were probably mistaken charges. You probably identified a subscription or 2 that you want to cancel or pause. So there are many ways to find quick wins that's going to immediately reduce your money out number, not just for this month, but moving forward. If you want more ideas on how to find money in your cash flow, I have a free checklist that I will again drop the link in the description, but this checklist walks you through different areas of your life that you might be able to find money and basically do a budget detox to reclaim some of your cash flow. And doing this is gonna help increase that margin number. Step number 5. Decide on your next financial goal. So taking everything you've done so far, this is going to vary from person to person. For example, if you are cash flow negative and you're currently spending more than you make, your next immediate goal probably should be something along the lines of, how do I spend less or make more? And that is what I have to prioritize right now. Because the more months you stay in that state of cash flow negative, the further you'll go into debt. And debt can just compound over time if you don't nip it in the bud. Another example is, let's say when you did the cash flow audit and you identified where your money is going and how you typically spend your money. If you've identified that maybe you overspend, maybe you are an impulsive spender, maybe your next big financial goal is coming up with a system that's going to limit how much you spend in certain areas. Maybe that's giving yourself a shopping allowance every month, and your goal is to stay within that allowance for the next 3 months. Now, if nothing jumps out at you as something that can become your next financial goal, something you're going to work on between now and the next 3 to 6 months, then I have a goal that works for everyone. The question is, do you have an emergency fund? Do you have money that is set aside in its own bank account that is considered your emergency fund? If you do, then that's great. If you don't, then your goal can be to save towards your emergency fund. And one other example I'll touch on is debt. When you were going through your cash flow audit, if you identified that a lot of your money goes out to paying debtors and creditors, so credit card payments, debt payments, student loan payments, if a lot of your money is going towards debt, then your next financial goal might be coming up with a debt payoff plan. If you have the margin to support it and you already have an emergency fund, this could be a good time to dedicate more of that freed up cash flow towards your debts. This is basically the step where you are going from, now I have an awareness of my financial life, to, all right, I need to take action. I need to be proactive. What is the next goal that I want to achieve? And remember, go back to step 0 where we talked about your why. Why do you want to achieve this goal? Because that's going to keep you motivated, especially in the next few months as you work towards this goal. Finally, step number 6. Step number 6 is building your system. Building your system with the right tools. This honestly deserves its own video, but I want to touch on it because you are here to actually improve your finances, not just for today, not just for this month, but into the future. Building a system is how you solidify this progress you're making and how you make sure that it continues to happen. A money management system is how you run your money. And there are so many different ways to do this, but I want to offer you a couple of suggestions in case you have no idea where to start. Option number 1, use an app. You can use tools like Monarch Money, Lunch Money, or YNAB, You Need a Budget. Those are my 3 favorite money management and budgeting tools, and they're all very different and look different visually. I'll drop links in the description if you want to check out any of those. Each of them does offer a free trial of different lengths, so it's worth playing around with them to see if one of them works for you. Option number 2, a manual system. If you don't want to use an app, or if you want to use your own system in conjunction with an app, you can track on a spreadsheet. You can even use the same cash flow spreadsheet that I gave you guys earlier. With a manual system, the key is that you regularly check in. If you are tracking things manually and inputting all of your expenses into a spreadsheet, you want to make sure that not too much time goes by before you check in again, because a system like that is only as good as your inputs. If you set up a beautiful spreadsheet that tracks all of your expenses and you input those expenses and do your calculations every month, and then you fall off for like 7 months, it's just going to get overwhelming trying to get it back on track. So with a manual system, because things aren't updated dynamically, you're going to have to be more hands-on. Option number 3 for a system is it can be automation focused. Quick sidebar, my system actually uses all 3 and it works for me. And I know for some people that might sound like a lot of work, but again, I'm offering these suggestions simply because you have to find what works for you and your situation. Most importantly, I want you to know that there are options out there. So option number 3, an automation-focused money management system works if you want to be hands-off and you can trust in your systems. One way to do this is by utilizing direct deposits and automatic transfers to make sure that money goes where it needs to on a monthly basis or whenever you get paid. So an example could be you have a certain amount that you dedicate towards bills every month, towards debt payments, towards an emergency savings fund, and let's say towards investing. If you set up your system so that every time you get a paycheck, it gets split amongst those things, then you'll know that any money left over that maybe goes into your checking account is yours to spend. Rather than having to track every expense very manually, you're basically taking care of all of your priorities and then using the leftover as you're spending money on a monthly basis. Personally, I think this is a great system for most people. It's just a matter of if you are ready for it. If your money is tight and you tend to overdraft your accounts and you don't have enough income to support this yet, it might be more difficult. But if you are ready to be a little more hands-off on your day-to-day tracking, then you definitely want to include some automation. I know that was a lot, but the point is try one. If the system doesn't work for you, if it gets outdated fast, if you're not motivated to check in on the system, then switch and try another one. At the end of the day, the best system is the one that you're actually going to use. All right, let's bring it all together. I hope that you were able to see in this video that there are ways to be proactive with your finances and finally feel in control of your money, regardless of how much you make. It all starts with reflecting on why you even want to improve your finances to begin with and using that as motivation. Then you want to calculate how much money do you bring in every month. Then calculate how much money goes out. When you have those two numbers, you can calculate what is your monthly cash flow like. Are you in the positive? Are you in the negative? Are you neutral? Are you at zero? From there, find immediate quick wins that are going to help you improve your cash flow, because improving your cash flow and improving that margin is how you're going to be able to make more moves with your money. Then you want to define that next big goal for you. Based on all the numbers that you looked at, is it paying down debt? Is it saving for your emergency fund? Is it saving for something else? Set that goal and start working towards it. Once you define what that goal is that you're going to work towards to improve your finances, the next step is setting up your system, whatever works for you, that's going to hold you accountable to that goal. Getting your money together is simply about being proactive, being aware of your financial life and your circumstances, and doing what you can with what you've got. If you can move from being reactive to being proactive with your money, you're gonna reach financial security a lot faster. I hope this video was helpful. Until next time, peace out.